Hey Mary Jo, welcome to the 2019 OEC golf event. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing. We'll let that play on through, put you back in your dress position, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup looks really good. You get your spine nice and straight and on a slight tilt. Legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Your arms hang down nice and naturally in front of you, and the club works out to the golf ball. So achieving really good posture here in association with really good balance as well. Looks superb. Next thing we'll observe is your alignment. We can see your feet running in this direction here. Carry that out towards the fairway. Theoretically, your club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet. Parallel lines on camera would have an appearance of converging. And with that scenario, we can see you're set up right down the center of the fairway as well. So that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and do a little split screen comparison here between you and Chella Choi. Basically what we have on the screen here are some color-coded lines just as a visual reference as it pertains to swing play. We can see with Chella here that she initiates her takeaway by creating good, strong shoulder rotation, bringing the arms and hands back as well as the club, and we can see the club coming back directly along the red line, so the club is swinging back on a proper swing plane. Through this stage of the golf swing, we got to start incorporating some wrist hinge into play. So we're going to transition the club head from being below our hands now to being above our hands, and we're going to work the club from red up towards yellow. When we finally set the club at the top of the backswing, we're going to have the left arm and the club situated on the yellow line. We're going to have full shoulder rotation, and we do this about a very stable right leg. With you, as we watch you initiate your takeaway here, you draw your hands back very nicely. Creating some good shoulder rotation. Club sneaks ever so slightly underneath the swing plane, not a big deal at all. It's a very nice looking takeaway. Hopefully we get some wrist hinge occurring here shortly, which we do through there, so that's great. Your right arm does have a tendency of sort of the inner tricep folds against your rib cage a little too much, so we could learn how to maximize your arm extension a little bit coming back because the arms are very cemented to your core. At this point in time, we're getting your wrist hinge into play. You start working arms now a little bit vertically, and actually what we might see is your right arm, the inner tricep, might work off the rib cage now, and you'll get yourself into a pretty decent set position, even though your arms earlier on were very congested to your core. When we finally set the golf club, we do see that your inner tricep eventually does come off your rib cage, so that's better. We'd like to obviously maintain that during the entire backswing. You could still obviously increase the amount of extension or arm width from your core for sure, but you have good turn, stable right side. Arms do break down with the club a little, so we do get the golf club a little bit out of position at the top. As we create our transition back in the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left, fire the knees and the hips to the target, unwind the core and fire the hands, and in doing so we got to make sure that we're bringing the golf club back down onto plane where the club originated, and that's exactly what we see here with Chella Choi. With you, actually, sorry, before we move on with that, the other thing we want to take a look at is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club, and I refer to this as the backwards check mark. Simply means that the club head right now is remaining above and behind her hands, and this is going to allow her to create a lot of power in her golf swing, let alone the ability to hit the ball straight due to the fact, as we've already mentioned, the club having returned back to plane. With your transition back into the ball, you drop your hands quite nicely there. They do look like they get pushed a little bit out in front of you. Yeah, they do. So it's a little bit of an over-the-top move. You're going to fight to keep the club head behind you because your subconscious understands that that's where power comes from. So as you're coming into the ball, we can see right here that you still have your backwards check mark, club head still above and behind your hands. So creating some power in the golf swing is not going to be an issue. The only problem is that with that over-the-top move, the club head's having a tough time returning back to plane. As we continue to track the club head coming into the ball, we're going to watch this club right there. So I mean, this is, again, you're really fighting to keep the club head behind the hands because you created too much arm separation away from your core because of that over-the-top move. Go to the next frame, and basically now the club has fallen back onto plane at that point in time, but it took a long time for the club to return back to the plane. So if we just connect the dots, this is ultimately your descending motion into the golf ball, and the club really doesn't return back to plane until right about here, whereas Chella's golf club, we can see how early it returns back to plane. And then actually in her case, the club not only does it attack from on plane, it actually attacks slightly from underneath the red line. So in her case, her miss might be a little bit of a block to the right if the club face doesn't square up. But for simplicity's sake, we can pretty much just look at this and say, hey, her alignment's good, club's coming down on plane. If she has a good grip, she's going to hit a really good straight golf shot in accordance to her alignment. At this point in time, we can take a look at the path of the club, and what we can see here is that Cella's club is inside the ball. It expands out to make contact, moves through in a nice natural subtle arc, and again, she's going to hit the ball relatively straight in accordance to her alignment because her grip was good and the club face squares up. You've done a good job getting the club back to plane, so you're not really going to approach the ball too far across, hopefully. So let's go from here to the next frame. So you do a good job. You're expanding out. At least you're not moving aggressively across the ball, and then from there it does move a little bit in. But overall, you've achieved a pretty good path through impact by fighting to keep that club head behind your hands through this part of the golf swing. So you end up doing a pretty good job through impact there. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of arm separation out in front, and you're fighting to keep the club behind. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. And then, again, the end result of the golf shot now is going to be dictated based on the timing of the club face. And because you're creating that fighting, hanging on move, we can see through impact, club face stays open, and you end up sort of blocking the ball out to the right, and probably also has a little bit of left to right spin. So the ball's starting right and will continue to go a little further right depending on how open that club face remained. As you carry through, you carry yourself through to a really good finishing position. You get up off the heel of the right foot onto the toe, and you're carrying yourself through to a really good finishing position. Overall, some really nice athleticism here from you. Your hands work well. They come back. They fire through great. Your core's working well. You coil, you uncoil. You've got great footwork that allows you to get through to a good finish. Your alignment is good. Your downswing plane effectively eventually gets back onto plane. We would like to get rid of this slight over-the-top move that you create right here, and then that causes you to sort of have to manipulate that club face. And you can see at the end of your golf swing, you're sort of, your finish is leaning left, and that's telling us that you want that ball to come back. So through impact, your club face remained a little too open. So a little over the top, you hang on, you block the ball. Now your body says, hey, come on back to the center of the fairway. Because that club face just did not release through impact. So definitely learning how to let your hands and arms release through impact to square that club face up through there is very important. And when you do, you're going to hit the ball obviously a little more solid, obviously straighter, and you won't lose the golf ball to the right. Okay? Anyways, if at any point in time you ever want to work on these aspects of your golf game, certainly feel free to contact me. I'm over at Glen Abbey in Oakville, where obviously the event was held, and I'd be happy to structure a program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, or sit on a committee for any events and you're looking for a unique gift to provide your guests, certainly feel free to touch base and be happy to discuss those services with you. Anyways, hope you had a great day. Hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video. Hope you've had a great summer, and hope you get a chance to play a little bit more golf through the fall there. Take care.